the city council meeting for the city of Nelson, April the 1st, 2024. Mr. John, would you please give an invocation?
Heavenly Father, we just invite you to our meeting, that you are in the midst of us and that you will guide us, that the thing we are thinking and saying will benefit you, glorify you, and glorify Nelson. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
James, could you
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
agenda approval?
Okay. I make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to move 8E and 9A up to 6B and C.
I second that.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Can I get an approval for the agenda with the changes?
Make the motion.
William Cameron? Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Next up is public appearance. Is there anybody here tonight who has would like to speak with regards to anything on our agenda? We'll move on then, and we'll go to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from March the 4th, 2024 council meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Chrissy's the first. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
James, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next up is going to be our Landbank IGA.
All right. Thanks. That's okay.
Mr. Brantley Day, our council. You may know some, Steve Gabby, Chrissy McNeil, John Walker.
Okay, that'd be nice. Thank you, Mayor.
James Clinton Williams.
Mayor, I'd like to introduce, I'm Brantley Day, I'm the Agency Director for the Community Development Agency with Cherokee County. This is Sean Tolan, he's a City Council member for the City of Canton. And then Margaret Stallings is the Director of Planning and Zoning with Cherokee County. So they're with me, so we're together. So thank you for having us here tonight, we really appreciate that. And Mayor, if I may go ahead and pass out, we just have kind of a handout here that we wanted to pass everyone just kind of a one-pager. You always need a one-pager when you come and present. So we did a one-pager, just kind of give an overview. But before we jump into that, I was going to let Councilor Tolan address you if that's okay, and then we'll just kind of, give an overview, and then we'll love to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, folks, and it's really odd standing here on this side. You guys, it's usually the other way around. But thank you for having us, really appreciate it. We're excited in Canton about the potential of this land bank, and it's the genesis of it started about 18 months ago. Canton is part of the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, and housing is one of my main passion areas. So we went to a Georgia Initiative for Community Housing retreat down in Tifton, and a gentleman from the Atlanta Landbank Association, Christopher Norman, came and presented, and I just thought, it's like one of those V8 moments. Why didn't I think of that? Essentially, from my perspective, a land bank gives an organization, gives municipalities in the larger county an opportunity to take, and there's other things that it does, but the thing that really intrigued me is it takes otherwise unusable properties, which may have delinquent taxes against it, and alleviates those taxes in order to get that property back on the tax rolls, if you will. So that's kind of the highest level. There's lots of things, and I've got some handouts here Mr. Norman actually gave us a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, which if you guys are interested, I can just leave this here, and y'all can make copies and peruse it at your leisure. But really excited about the fact that, it takes the county and at least one city, and I believe Brantley, we have 5 cities, maybe 4 or 5 cities committed to it. And, but my message to you guys is, this is a land bank. It's something you could choose to, bring in as part of what you guys do. Or you could just look at it and say, it's not for us right now. It sounds intriguing, maybe down the road. And there's no problem with that whatsoever, if that's something that you guys want to pause before you kind of jump on board. Or if you don't want to jump on board, whatever works.
Thank you, Councilor Tolman, and as Councilor Tolman mentioned, he's got the full deal here that kind of really goes into a lot of detail.
Yes, we'd like a copy of
Okay.
that. Copies made.
And I know that there's probably going to be a lot of questions, and that's one reason we're here. The main reason we're here is we definitely want to answer any questions that you have, but I just want to give you like a quick overview, kind of piggybacking on what Councilor Tolman said. The county has met with all of the cities over the last year or so, and we're to the point where we've distributed some the governing documents, I guess, or the intergovernmental agreement that it would take to constitute the land bank, and some policy documents. But kind of backing up from there for a second, just to kind of give you an overview, the land bank statute in Georgia goes back to 1991, was updated in 2012. Typically, actually, we've met and talked with our neighbor, Bartow Carsville. Bartow Carsville started a land bank several years back. They've actually targeted an area near I-75 and 92 where they're trying to encourage redevelopment where redevelopment hasn't happened. So they've targeted, and what you often see is public properties that are abandoned or derelict, and oftentimes if the land bank can acquire those, work with a private sector partner, it can be rebuilt into something different. And so we've talked to the Cherokee Office of Economic Development. They're actually part of this as well. And for the purposes of this land bank, we were mentioning to the mayor earlier as well, we're looking at least from the county standpoint, we're looking at home ownership, increasing home ownership. And there are going to be properties, it could be various properties that get donated for various reasons. Sometimes the school board or public entities have properties they would like to donate. All of a sudden, those can be turned into something that would be useful, whether that be a commercial project or whether that be a home, a project that could have homes for. We talk about the workforce in Cherokee County. We're thinking of firefighters, police officers, teachers, public works workers, nurses, and so on and so forth. So as far as the land bank goes, each jurisdiction would, the way we've proposed it, would have one board member. Even the county, we would only have one board member. Let me just go ahead and tell you, I used to work for 2 cities in Cherokee County. I worked for the city of Holly Springs, and I was a client of this man right here, and I worked for the city of Woodstock as well. So municipalities mean an awful lot to me, even though I'm with the county almost 3 years. So I understand how important it is to retain the authority that you do have. And from that standpoint, the way that we've structured the land bank agreement is that each entity would have an appointee, and there would be no project that could occur in a city without, or in a jurisdiction, even in an incorporated county, without either the city council approving it for their jurisdiction or the board of commissioners approving it for an unincorporated county. So that was really important to us as well. And we've kind of gotten in the weeds on here a little bit about operationally how it would start and things like that. But the bottom line is, and Councilor Tolan said it well, we're looking at this as an additional tool in the toolbox to be able to assist with being able to create additional workforce housing in the county if at all possible. Because we've heard from the hospital, we've heard from the school board, we understand that the need is there, and we're kind of looking at that right now. So the way it would work is, at least the county and one city together can form it. No one can do it on their own. But let's say that some of the cities, as Councilor Tolan said, did not want to join at this time. That's perfectly fine. In fact, the way the board will be constituted, if in the future a city that didn't join at first, wanted to join later, there would be a board seat reserved for that city if they wanted to join in the future. So, there's a lot of additional things I'm sure that we've left out and probably have questions which we definitely want to try to get answered. And if we don't know the answer, because we're not land bank experts, we're still learning and working with people too to make sure we got it right, then we'll find the answer for you.
Nelson's a small city, we're a mile radius. A lot of our places that we have now, that we have builders just come in and flip them. How would the land bank, I know that what you said when I spoke with you is that you operate a little bit differently, you keep the costs low. Do you come in and take those properties and then do the construction upgrades on and then sell them to somebody that qualifies, fireman, teacher, nurse, that kind of thing, at lower than the market value that is currently out there?
So I think from a public-private standpoint, I think that more often than not, the land bank's not going to compete with the private sector, because if the private sector can acquire the property and build the units, then they'll do that. What the land bank will probably be more likely to get into is, let's say you have a property on the tax digest that is very delinquent, like they owe so much money that it's more than the property's worth. Then the tax commissioner can extinguish those liens in favor of, and of course all the taxing entities have to agree. In other words, if the property was in the city of Nelson and the tax liens were going to be extinguished, you would have to agree, the county would have to agree, the school board would have to agree.
Okay.
And then at that point, the land bank would acquire it. It could be, you would probably enter into a public-private partnership, a contract with the developer. You probably would have we're actually talking we talked a little bit about the land trust, and I don't want to muddy the waters today, but essentially you would be able to contractually ensure that the land, if units were constructed on the land and sold to individual people like you mean, that those would be, the value of those would be able to be affordable according to their income. And a lot of people ask, what does that mean? The calculation on that is basically 30%, about 30% of gross income going toward housing. So you take that 30% of gross income, divide it by 12, and that would be your monthly mortgage payment or your monthly rent if you were to rent. And as I said, our kind of, the land bank's not constituted yet, but our approach with it is we're looking at increasing home ownership, because in the county, I don't want to speak for the cities, but in the county, what we've seen is a lot of our housing stock has been bought by equity investors and institutional investors, and they turn it into rental property. And that's a very difficult thing to overcome. And so we're working on that. We've actually had an ordinance where we restrict the new build to rent, that cannot be done without, unless you're in a certain zone. But to be able to have homes, somewhere to come in, this is kind of the market concern right now, somewhere to come in and say, and in fact, the mayor of Sandy Springs gave this very example. He said, we had a developer come in, they were well-intentioned, they built something like 50 units that were going to be affordable. They found that they could get a lot more money at market rate. They had to get their money out of it. So instead of selling them at, let's say 300, 350, they're selling them at probably 800,000. So what this does is the land bank helps you kind of short circuit that to some degree. And really, you're really taking the land price out of the product, right? Because when you buy a home, that land price is part of your purchase.
Yeah, it usually is right around a quarter of the value of the property is the land.
That's right.
That's typical.
And then I'm not sure if this is going to be held as correct or not, but I have heard that you can actually, on a perpetual basis, you can set maximum profits that can be made on these particular dwellings. 25% is a number that's been thrown out. And so if it sells for a value that's greater than 25% over what you paid for it, then that delta, that difference goes back into the land bank. Is that accurate?
So say if I purchased a property, is that what you were talking about earlier? He purchased a property, he was in it 5 years, he sold it, he made $200,000 more than what he bought it for. He could only keep 25% of the proceeds. So it wouldn't really the rest of it would go back to Landbank, so.
Yeah, and so it disincentivizes the institutional investors.
Gotcha.
Right, and so they enjoy, when you sell the property, you don't enjoy the profits from it. But remember, if you're going in and buying one from the beginning, you're going in understanding that arrangement. You sell, you enjoy the appreciation to an extent, and then the next person can buy it, the next firefighter or police officer can buy it at that rate that the first one did, or close to it. That's kind of the idea behind it.
I'd like to give council members an opportunity to ask questions if they have some. I know that I'll make copies for them and we'll discuss it in our next work session, but we do.
You're also looking into doing deed restrictions, owner occupancy, that type of thing to stop the rental.
Exactly, and I think, and like I said, I don't, the land trust is kind of like that. It's kind of think of it like an HOA, kind of a little bit HOA plus, and it essentially helps regulate that over time. It's like a deed restriction.
Yes, I know, doing what I do, I saw subdivisions that were selling in the 500s and 600,000s with people buying 7, 8, 10 units for rentals. It's
That's
not
right.
just, presentation last time I got to go to, so I said, if you pull up Zillow and look at Cherokee County, put in $300,000 and see what you can buy.
Wow.
Nothing that you can live in.
The frightening thing for folks like us is, they're saying nationally, the institutional investors are going to, in the next, I want to say 8 years, they're anticipating that the institutional investors will own 40% of every home in America. And I personally think we need to try to help people that, need some help with affordability in the town with measures like this.
James, you have any questions?
To the extent, Jeff, that we can legally.
Of course. Mr. Alberton, you have any questions?
I have to show my ignorance, big time. I tried to read through all these documents, and two things. One question I have for Jeff. I thought that when I buy a piece of property, that I own the property. My interpretation there is, I don't. I have a right to use the property, but the city or the county owns the property.
I mean, I presume that title will transfer, that the government, even with a public-private partnership, would sell it, but probably with some kind of restrictions.
Right.
Because without any restrictions, the fear with affordable housing is you create, build, and sell affordable housing, somebody buys the affordable housing, puts it right back on the market the next day and makes the profit. And so you have to prevent that.
Without a
In order
regulation.
to do. So the title would be in the individual, but they would buy it with some restrictions as to future profitability and perhaps use.
Okay, the second, so do I own the land or does the city own the land?
If you bought it from this entity, you would own the land, but with some rules.
Yeah, I think
But if I have a foreclosure, the city takes over land.
Well, a bank does, or with a tax sale, either the government ends up with the property or some other investor ends up with the property.
Okay, so my concern when I read this, and I might completely misunderstand it, if we are into a big depression, so we have a lot of foreclosures, the land bank will then automatically get a lot of properties, and to some extent can determine the kind of development that happens on those properties.
True.
Is that true?
I think that would probably be true.
It could happen that way. I've actually been working with the tax commissioner to look at the data for the types of properties that go up for tax sale. And they're very scattered, but there's some definite clusters in Lake Arrowhead and some of the mobile home parks that are in the south end of the county. But otherwise, it's usually just a lot here, a lot there. But there's also a process that's been going on where people buying unbuildable lots and they're just circulating them. They don't, they're using them for a tax loss, actually. It's kind of strange, but I'm starting to learn about that. And we might the land bank might not want all of them. We might only want certain ones that seem to have good characteristics to be suitable for building.
But it means that to some extent the decision of the development of the land in, for instance, Nelson, will be moved to the land bank.
Well, what you gotta remember, sorry to interject, there's two things that would happen. Number one is you know, we've all got, and I presume you do too, a comprehensive plan, a future land use map, zoning, that's gonna restrict, development. Number two is we've put in the requirement we're proposing that the land bank can't do anything without the city council approving it. So if the land bank has a project they'd like to do, before they get too deep in it, the city council has to approve it.
And we have very, just for you, we don't have a lot of delinquent taxes and things like that. We've got ours down to just, I'm talking just a very small, just 3 to 4. So we don't have a lot of issues there. The issue would come though, like you were saying, if there was a depression and people couldn't pay their taxes, things like that, so.
And then someone who buys a house will be responsible for their own mortgage, correct?
Yes.
Would be, so you'd be buying a house from them with a normal mortgage?
Sure. No, that.
And to the gentleman's point that you made, you said you thought you might have been confused. I don't think you were, but that ownership piece is relative to the land trust, which the city of Canton is looking into. I think some other cities might be looking into it as well. That doesn't require, as I understand it, the cooperation between the city and the cities and the county. But under that scenario, the land trust, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but since you did bring it up, the land trust essentially allows for, as Margaret said, about 25% of the purchase of that home would be basically wiped out, because that property would be either donated by a municipality or another government entity, and then the homeowner would build their home on that property, 99-year lease typically, and essentially buy the home for 75% of what they would otherwise. So another way to, another tool in the toolbox, if you will, of attainability, affordability.
So what he's saying is that the city would have to make the final decision. Say somebody couldn't pay their property taxes, and we've had that a couple of times. They come in, they have a conversation with us, and then we do like a plan that's affordable to them until they can get out of their hardship. The council, it's usually me at that point, unless it's a lot of money, and then it would come through you guys. So there's ways to navigate that without anybody losing. And it's still, we're still a city. People that live in the city, that pay taxes in the city, we still make those decisions. Correct? Jeff?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And we would, if I may, like I told you, I worked for 2 cities in Cherokee County over 12 years. This man can attest to that, and this man can too. We want to make sure that we put good guardrails on this.
Yes.
And I would just say, as you guys review it legally, anything that we need to add to further that, let us know, because we want to make sure, the commissioners feel the same way. They want to make sure there's good guardrails on it. They don't want to see something crazy happen. Everybody wants to retain their own autonomy and their own authority and rights, and we want to make sure that we do that to the fullest extent possible. Trust me when I tell you that.
We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Chrissy, you next.
Any questions? I find it very interesting. I'd like to really look over, especially that and absorb. I really think it's
There's a
interesting.
lot to take in.
Yeah, but the housing aspect is huge for me as well. So, as I see the affordability disappearing even more and more every day. So,
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Right now it's so hard to find properties in Canton for people that work in Canton, so live in. So everybody's experiencing it though.
Councilman Nathan?
So the only way you would be eligible to buy a house through that is if you work for a Cherokee County government, is that?
It would, it would be, ultimately, it would be up to the land bank, not the Cherokee County government, but it, it would be up to the land bank board and to determine ultimately, which direction they wanted to go in, because there's also an economic development angle to this. There may be properties that get donated to the land bank that housing's not going to be appropriate on there. It would be a better piece to be a commercial piece or something like that. So COED or the Cherokee Office of Economic Development is involved. But what we foresee is that, depending on where the piece is or the proposal or the project, for example, with Bartow, they haven't really specified that in what they're doing. They're just trying to redevelop an area that's near the interchange at 92 and I-75. So I think that could vary depending on what you're trying to do. In other words, if you, let's say that you were down, let's say it was the city of Canton, and in the city they said, we want to really focus on city, where people that are maybe hospital and that sort of thing, that's where they might, well, you guys might have an industry up here. Maybe there's a big industry coming to Nelson, and that industry says, hey, we need, because this is what the hospital just told us, we've got, this many thousands of jobs that we need filled, or that we have to fill, and they got no place to live. Would you guys be willing to step up and help us with that? You may have an industry that comes up here. So your purpose or your, design of it may be a little bit different.
We're in 2 cities, so, I mean, 2 counties.
That's right.
So we have,
That's right.
it would only, this land bank would only really pertain to the Cherokee County, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I sent this stuff.
Margaret, please, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can get a wave going up this way.
I've sent everything to Phil.
Yeah, we did, but I know they're not on board yet, so.
Would Cherokee or would Pickens County residents be able to apply or buy something from that, or would you have to be in Cherokee?
If it was in the city, but not in the county.
We probably need to get,
Well, it's only gonna apply to the Cherokee side.
Yes.
So if it's housing, you're about to become a Cherokee County resident.
Yes.
that's a good way to say it. That's a good way to say it, yeah.
Yeah, and I know Pickens is looking at something, they're looking at that too, so, I mean, it could flow right on over, but.
I think with the Bartow Cartersville one, there's been very little activity from Cartersville. It's really been Bartow that's been driving the projects. So it really, it really is dependent on what kinds of properties are coming in, what the desires of the jurisdiction are.
Anything else? Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
I'll get these handouts out to everybody.
Okay.
Discuss it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Is
very
there a
much.
deadline for your, or it's just
There's
right
no
out this?
deadline, we're just kind of circulating it right now, just trying to get going, so we'll stay in touch.
All right, you guys are welcome to stay, and if you want to head on out, we can put you understand.
Thank you.
None of them go in that meeting.
We have another one tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Next up is 6C, and that's going to be our safe digging proclamation. Yeah, that's you.
Say you're out, say digging. Yes, sir. They never sent me one from Pickens, only got from Cherokee's. I asked Lori about it, she said the girl from, the person handling it, she had said it from, give you the copies of it, or sign it, who knows? Just take here, let me see. It is. Yeah, so we can just get that signed and give it to you. That's the back. So we have to do two, over 2 counties and for each city and visit.
saved it, yeah, we removed it.
Just for clarification, it's 9A, so the forward one is 9A.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Do you get anything?
Cherokee County Local Utility Coordination, Coordinating Committee, and Georgia 811. Okay.
So April is the month of safe digging for 811, and UCC is partnered with 811 for that, and we get the proclamations here tonight for Pickens County and Cherokee County to promote safe digging for the month of April.
Okay. Okay, what was your name again?
Yes, I'm Steve.
Steve? Okay.
Tipton
Steve Tipton?
with ETC
Okay, with these.
Communications.
Thank you. So this is just standard.
Yes, it's gonna be done here.
Yeah.
It's just a.
Anybody have any questions? Will you have any questions for Steve? James? John? No. So you just need us to sign them. Do you want me to go ahead and sign those so he doesn't have to?
Oh, he wants to wait for that.
I'll go ahead and I was gonna say, I'll go ahead and
She
sign
asked
them.
if she wanted.
Y'all, somebody just
We
moved
have
to,
to approve.
move to approve the proclamation.
Can I get a motion to approve the proclamation?
I'll make a
Safety. Get a second? All in favor? Unanimous. Second, 1 second. So that was James.
See if he went back without getting
That
that.
was John. I know.
You just miss on Larry up there. Since he died.
Forward, yeah. Got hit pretty hard.
Yeah, it's kind of a shock, but.
Yeah. That COVID was a bad time.
Yeah.
So.
All of the council members.
Here, so you can stand in front of us and we'll all stand up and we'll get a picture with you. You want to hold our thing?
Get two separate pictures, one for Sheedy and one for
Okay.
Pickens.
You don't have to hold it out in front of us.
Good.
Look at Pickens.
Motion, did you second?
Yeah, come on, boys.
Glamour shot.
No one is taking it off.
Can we get you to take the picture for us?
Surprise.
And I'll let you just kind of hold.
All right.
Yes. We normally have one coming from the fence.
Okay.
That's not bad. That's great. However you want it. I just want to make sure you have it.
Thank you, Steve, for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You can hang out the rest of the meeting if you want.
Continue roll copies of those. Oh,
You yeah, you
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is department reports. Lieutenant Dissis, you're up.
Well, I was late. So I don't have much to report as far as calls for service that we've had. Most of the calls that we've been getting have been right on the line into Pickens County, actually. But some of the things that we've been going through, as you're all aware, this particular precinct is basically a part-time precinct, and it's very difficult to staff. Couple that with the fact that the people that are staffed there, one's on military leave for the next year, one's on family leave because their wife had a baby, and then we've had several of them have gone away to long-term training. So we've been staffed with reserve officers picking up the slack, and they've been doing an excellent job. It's been a bunch of ticket tripping over here. But to report, if you haven't heard, they are moving, the Sheriff's Office is moving to take Ball Ground Precinct 2, going from part-time into actual shifts. So 2 new sergeants have been signed to the Ball Ground Precinct. You met them? They should have came up here, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then they're getting a few deputies starting the 14th 14, they will move to, the first 2 day shifts will be staffed. So they'll begin working the 6 to 6, 7 days a week. And now we're working on trying to staff the night shift. At night, of course, the 2 neighboring precincts, Waleska and Freeholm, cover this area, which requires them to come here. Traditionally, the problem has been, in an effort to try to staff all the days that we could up here, what ends up happening is these guys would come in, say around 7:30 in the morning, while the day shifts start, all other precincts are starting at 5:30 in the morning. And so they're getting those calls for service up here. So we get calls for service very early and on the end of shift. And almost nothing in between, unless it's a wreck, right? So what happens is those guys have to trek up here, and there's always been this, why aren't those guys working yet? But they already, the guys that were assigned here already work more days than any of the other precincts because they're trying to cover as many days as possible. So that's going to come to an end with the 2 fully staffed day shifts. So and we'll be working on getting night shifts. You met the 2 supervisors coming here. As the deputies trickle in, we'll be sending them up here so you can meet them.
Appreciate it, thank you. And have you had any more calls from Pickens Street? I wanted to.
No, we had one domestic related call. And I was just talking to before I came here, to the deputy that went there. There wasn't an arrest made on that particular call. And the car fire, I think it was, right on the line, you're aware of that one? Yeah. Those were the 2 main things that they mentioned.
Yeah, I was just wondering if your officers had seen it and observed any more of the speeding and stuff. I know you've seen.
No, the speeding actually, it's gotten some of the attention of the traffic units because all of the traffic related offenses, the traffic unit gets those stats. And when they start seeing like the reserve officers writing all the tickets, it's kind of like sharks. Oh, there's something going on over here. So now, it's like you're back on the map again for of interest. And so I would anticipate that they're going to do some detail work. And I only say that because they've been asking me questions about when do you guys get off? What time do you come on? Do you have someone to donate? If we put a couple deputies up there, that usually tells me that they're going to start doing something detail related where they just have a crackdown on traffic related stuff.
One other thing, we've gotten some things in the mail. I'm pretty sure Kelsey's phone was listening to her, but anyway, we got some things in the mail with regards to the signs that come up and it shows your speed.
Yes.
I didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we have a couple of those. Well, we were talking about it, and then all of a sudden we start getting mail on it. So yeah.
Do you have those signs?
We don't, but we were thinking about getting them. We found some flyers. What is your thoughts on those?
Well, each precinct, except for Hallground Precinct, has a speed trailer, and I've asked for one, and that's very helpful that you guys want one, because I'm going to go back and say that. So, yeah, we do have them. I don't know.
If you get some time this week, if you just reach out, Kelsey, give me a call. I'll meet you down here and go over. I'll show you what we're looking at. I don't know that it records anything, but it would make them aware of where they are. It's like a flash. It's just a sign, like a stop sign, but it flashes the speed underneath it. So
We had one and gave it away.
That was Cherokee County.
that was Cherokee County's that was
I laugh at the one
We
we
gave
gave
it to the guy.
Do you really?
they're useless.
Got a
Yeah,
secret
you
ticket
set the
box.
limit, and there's all
New
different ones, so most of them are
Secret
just
ticket box.
flashing that you're going over the limit. They do have ones that will, that they're to use to actually record the speed and use it for citation. That involves actually putting those signs in a place where we can do that.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Okay, that answers my question.
They've got a new stop sign out and flashes.
Yeah. Do those help?
Yeah, ain't nobody running it up Culver's ice cream store.
I got a speeding ticket in my patrol car from the city of Denton.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better. I know what one this.
I live out Pickens Street, and I was in the backyard the other day, and I heard one just open up, look up, the prettiest state patrol car went by. No other reason than to hear his V8. Then the
All I do
diesels,
is go pay for my speeding ticket in my patrol car. So.
diesels coming out of the why there's Beacon Street, open it up to hear the turbos whine, and if there's not a deputy sitting there to catch them, nothing to do.
Wow. I was just wondering, we saw those and I didn't know if it would be a deter, or, I know that you guys have written up
Those
numerous
things
warnings
are
and I
deterrents for that
didn't.
one place where you put them. It's
Yeah.
kind of like putting the officer there running radars, like they slow down that section and keep going up. The real deterrent is actual patrols, to have patrol cars going up and down and citing people, because even stationary, this is all my opinion, but I watch even on the interstate, you know, that one section where they're running radar, everybody slows down, and as soon as they don't want to see the patrol car, it's back up to speed. And so it's just one of those things, we have an easier time enforcing things that people want enforced. People don't want that enforced most of the time.
Well, I mean, I think the conversation, I don't want to see that single mom with kids get a $200 fine. And it's just like he said, the county gets none of that money. The city gets none of that money. It all goes to the state. So, you know, it's a cat. If you see someone
it really-
blatantly speeding though, on Pickens Street where we have kids, absolutely. That's
I can
just
tell
how I
you
feel.
that,
I don't want our kids.
I don't know what the exact number is, but upwards of 80% of people that get pulled over do not get a citation.
Yes.
They don't. They keep all those statistics because of that very reason. It affects people greatly. The citation, the actual monetary value of the citation, it's not that it's a $50 fine. It would just sting you a little bit. And it actually stacks depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And so forth.
And people are having a tough enough time now, I get that, I don't want to add to that either, but I don't want to endanger our kids that are playing out there, so.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I
it's a
really
tough call.
think that the best, it's like all crime, that the best way really is to prevent it from happening in the first place. If it's already happened, we're just reacting to it. And so, including speeding, any other crime, if there's a presence in law enforcement, that is what reduces.
And I really appreciate it, I see you guys in here a lot, thank you. Anybody have anything for Lieutenant Dissis? That is enough. Thank you, sir. Next up is the mayor's report. I want to take a minute to thank everybody that came out for the Easter egg hunt and helped with that, and also our sponsors. We had an outpouring of sponsors for our Easter egg hunt this year. We had over $1,000 in prizes. We had so much stuff donated to us, we didn't even use everything. So just a lot of kids this year and everything, so really appreciate everybody that came out and loved on our community. And with that said, our first movie night in the park is scheduled for April. We're looking at the date of April the 27th. That is a Saturday. We doing it on Saturday or Friday night?
Saturday.
Okay. Does anybody have any issues with that? Yeah, April the 27th, which is a Saturday.
Now, is that the third Saturday or?
It's the 4th. It's the very last Saturday of the month. So thoughts on that is we're not going to try to do hamburgers and hot dogs. It's getting late. By the time the movie starts, it's going to be, people will have already fed their kids. But we did think about, Marietta has bought us a lovely popcorn machine, and they are going to come and break it in for us, pass out free popcorn and things like that. We have a bunch of juice boxes left over that we can use for the kids, so we can, it'd be a nice family night to come out and just bring the lawn chair and watch a movie. I am going to pick some movies. I'll send those out via text. And then if you guys have any ideas for family movie, I mean, I don't want a Disney movie just for babies. I'd like something for families.
It's Swank is the company.
Yes, Swank is the
Right,
company.
it's from.
So I'll send that out to you too in a text message. But take a look, see what you think would be a good, family movie, and then send some feedback. Okay. We also looked at maybe the possibility of, Chrissy found a ice cream truck that's willing to come out, and they're not really charging us anything to come out. They're just literally coming out and gonna be there if anybody wants ice cream, so, which was pretty cool. And then, we'll have a May movie night and then a September movie night. And the September movie night in the park, we're gonna try to organize a chili cook-off. So, alrighty. Let's see. We've not had any meetings since the last time we had our council meeting. I did have a phone conversation with Bill regarding our sidewalks. I do know that Barry has been engaged. He was here at the city hall. He met with Kirk Anderson and they rode the area. I had a tip that it would probably be a good idea to have a 2-inch beauty strip between the sidewalk / asphalt walking trail instead of having it butt right up against the road just for safety purposes. And then Barry confirmed that there had to be some, there has to be some things in place to be for safety measures, so.
2 inch or 2 feet?
2 feet.
Yeah.
Did I say inch? I told y'all I'm taking my medication for my allergies tonight, so if I'm slow to talk or I say something wrong, just read my mind. But yeah, 2 feet. Once I have some additional information nailed down and Barry has done the prelims on everything, he's going to come out to one of our work sessions. I'm going to try to schedule one work session a month for the next couple of months, so we have an opportunity to review some things that we need to review, you know, with as many projects as we have on board. So, with that said, is there a night at the end of April? Is there a good time at the end of April for a work session for everybody? Tuesday, Thursday, it could be a Monday. I'm pretty open.
I'm pretty open for,
We could shoot for, Mondays are pretty good for me, Monday or Tuesday. How about you guys? So 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th? No. Yes. I have training on the 18th. Is there anything else going on at the end of April?
I don't think so.
Okay. So the 22nd, 23rd, or the 25th. That's a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. Any preferences?
No.
No. Okay. How about, you want to?
why is my phone still session at 7 on 20?
No.
Was it listening to us?
Probably. So let's go ahead and let's set it up for the 23rd. That's a good day. So the 23rd at 7 p.m. Work session.
Is that Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. It is. That's a Tuesday. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I know that our end of life on our computers is up. And I want you guys to think about that. I know that we are going to have to purchase one. We need one for our part-time person. Is there anybody in here that would benefit more from a tablet? I know that when we were in training, I had no way of pulling up some of the things that we had, and they weren't available until the day that we got there. So I don't know if that would be something that you would rather have instead of a laptop or.
If y'all need a laptop to use down here, I can bring mine back. I don't use it.
You don't?
I use my own at the house.
Okay, well, that might be a good one for Pam then.
We can do John on here.
Oh, well, Trent, give yours to John, and then we'll,
I'm bringing it in and clean it or whatever
I can even do tablets like for council and then.
you don't use it either? Okay. Then
I
we'll
do.
do,
I've got my email set up on my own tablet and all.
Right. Me too, it's all online.
Maybe we'll look into tablets for council then, and instead of doing computers, also be a lot smaller.
sure. Is anybody, do you have a need for a tablet for your city stuff, Nathan?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
They might.
Chrissy?
Maybe, I don't know. I just use my laptop for everything.
That's me, and I do on my own tablet. I keep that one charged. So I'm in it, I set it up and put it up and.
I may, instead of lugging around my giant computer, I may go with a tablet just for giggles. For
First
the
chance I get, I'll bring that one back down.
Give it, hand it over to John, and you can have it reset up.
Games on there you can play.
Yeah, I reached out to David, and if he decided to keep it end of life is there, it doesn't matter.
You know, I'll tell you, it was
Yeah,
I'm trying to give it to me this evening, but he didn't make it on time.
it happens,
Well, I
I'm
think
not
it's,
worried.
the lifespan's been used on
Yeah, it
it, and
has.
we also purchased warranties on them, I think, through 3 years, and we're up
Yeah, we are.
with that, so, and I talked to Miranda about possibly purchasing from the grant fund, because they kind of forced us to put it in as lost income, and since it was forced kind of in that category, we should be able to use that, this money for that. Because that money has to be allocated this year instead of 2026, or we have to get that.
We do have that. The other thing that, there's one other thing I was going to bring up. Training, I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to see the training, or if you, I don't know if anything is even available now, but there is some training available at Brass Town Hall. On the 18th, I'm going to be taking municipal law, so there's a couple other ones up there if anybody's interested in taking it. And they're starting to do more and more around the counties. So if there's something particular that you would say, hey, here's something I'm looking for, we can keep an eye on those and look for those for you. So just let me know.
And we do have one extra hotel room for Savannah, so they also sign that.
Yeah, we went ahead and signed up.
Swamped this year, I didn't go.
I know, I'm taking that advantage, I'm taking advantage of getting the.
I'll take Stacy.
Knock yourself out.
Let's see, most of us did take a taxation class through the county over in Dallas, and that was very informative, and I enjoyed that. And then we also took a zoning and planning out at Cartersville, which was very enlightening as well. So I think that's all I have for, does any of you guys have anything for me specifically?
Any update on the drainage project?
Which one? Oh, this one here. So here's the deal. We're going to talk about an executive session. We need to make a decision, but I don't want that to be a Sylvia decision or mayor decision. I'd like for us all to talk about it because of what it involves.
I had an email from Lori today. She's been emailing and communicating with Barry. There were some things that she had noticed and sent him notes on. So she had sent an email today, right at the end of the day, asking if he wanted to meet up, because they always copy us on everything. So I don't have his response yet, but they're kind of working behind the scenes on stuff too.
And he's called me, and I'm invited to that meeting. Just FYI, we have to call the people back for this big,
Drain? It's
Drain.
already been done. Already called. It's already
okay, so it's done. They left a lot of stuff in there. And for $3,800, they're going to come back and it needs, yeah.
And he tried to bill us or was trying to get us to pay for it. Oh, yeah.
Barry went in, I guess they went and scoped it and found that there was just huge rocks just left in there. So anyway, we called them back out and they've done that. So that piece is complete. The only thing we're waiting on now is the easement piece that we'll discuss in executive session. All right, next up is going to be Miranda's finance report. Kelsey, you want to go ahead and just run through the numbers for her real quick?
General fund balance, $1,147,130, plus $129,506, plus $965,441, cash reserve, $168,356, Pickens Plus 2020, $914,748, and the grant fund is $194,378. This was as of about a week ago.
If you have any questions regarding those numbers, if you would just email and copy myself, Kelsey, that would be great. I think they're pretty straightforward though.
How much more time do we have on the grant fund?
Yeah, funds have to be
2026.
allocated, no, they have to be allocated, like you have to have a contract or something by the end of this year, and that they have to be used by 2026, or they will have to be returned.
The only thing that's holding us up on this project, which we're going to spend them on, is just that easement, which we'll have to make a decision today on. So, because our goal was to have this project off the ground, bid out, and accepted bid by August.
Yeah, so we can use it for doing computers and stuff too, so it's
Yeah.
taking chunks and pieces and using it.
I don't know if we was using any of it for the sidewalks and stuff either, I didn't know.
No, when I talked to the county, we've got some funds in Pickens Splosh Fund, old Pickens Splosh that we're going to use for that, and then the county's going to help manage. So we did call them about the tree that was down. They came right out and took care of that for us. So I was really appreciative of that. Let's see. All right, next up is we'll move along to unfinished business, rezoning. Second reading for the Blue Ridge Marble Company.
Yeah, this needs to ratify the decision you made at the last council meeting.
which is to grant the heavy industrial zoning with
Conditions.
the condition that is as an as use.
You can just say you're ratifying the decision made to grant the rezoning application.
Okay.
It's so much easier.
You don't have
Ratify
to
it.
restate it.
Okay, so, all right, ratifying decision made for the rezoning of Blue Ridge Mall. Okay, can I get a motion to, or do I just need to read it, or just say that?
That's good enough.
Do we need to vote it or anything like that?
Please vote.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm making a motion.
Can I get a motion to ratify the decision made for rezoning of the Blue Ridge Mall Company from neighborhood commercial and LI to heavy industrial? James and
Second.
Nathan, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay.
And then just get the same with the other.
And then the next step is the rezoning for Jeremy Denton from LI to HI. Can I get a motion to ratify for the ratification of the decision made for the property 04N03027 from LI to HI?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, James, can I get a second?
Second.
William, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Alright. Next up is to financial policy revision pre-approved contractor list. Okay, don't plan on, I'm not planning on voting here. Want to talk about this and then really go into detail a little bit about it when we do our work session. This is, it's a city policy. I put the city policy in there so you guys can review that as well. But I'd like to get a list of contractors. We would still get 3 quotes if we needed them, but we would get a list of contractors on an emergency basis, and they enter into a contract with us, which means that they would respond within 24 hours, or quicker if we needed it.
And the city policy.
Go ahead and read the city policy since you have the numbers.
Qualification, city will maintain a list of a list of pre-approved vendors. In order to qualify for the list, a vendor must supply a list of 3 or more references, list of prior work projects with municipal governments, save affidavit and e-verify form, and proof of liability and workers' comp insurance. City will recommend to the mayor and council after thorough background investigation whether applicant should be placed on the list.
So what I'd like for you guys to think about is who you'd like to see on that list. And then
We still have to get the
contractors for roads and streets, just emergency-based type stuff. Things that the county couldn't come right out and help with if we had an issue there. So, like if we needed a tree removed, or we needed, we've got several people. And if you guys want a list of contractors that we've used in the last year, I can get that list together and get that sent out to you. Would that be helpful? Or let's say the last 3 years, because we haven't used many. So a list of contractors.
You just have it at the work session when we talk about it.
Okay. A list of contractors that we've used. And then bring, if you guys know somebody that's, I like local. I mean, local is
usually the
good.
best prices and local.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Okay. We'll have that for April 3rd. Okay. All right, we'll move along then, and we'll go to route design park proposal, C, 8C.
There was an update email on this today, that I think he's pushing to get everything together and apply for the 2025 year, because some of them already closed, but the email was explaining that, it gives him more time and what phases of the park and all that stuff too. It came in one at the end of the day.
And I've invited him to come, so let me make a note here too. So Michael Kidd, he's gonna blame, did he send the rendering or anything?
Yeah, this is just for funding.
Oh, just for funding, okay.
That's all I'm doing so far. He said he's working on the other drawings. I can't remember the date he said he was going to, I just don't have the actual stuff.
I may see if he'll come to the work session for an update. If not, I can meet with him and then.
But this is like for funds and grants and stuff that would help pay for some of the stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, anybody that does his applications.
Yeah, so basically, when I met with him last time, he has a division of his company that basically can apply for grants and things of that nature. So, and we've got grants out there that we can apply for that will help with this is gonna be a big undertaking if we do, phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 3 of our master park plan. But he says there's plenty of grants out there, especially for cities small cities like Nelson. And then he says that his hourly rate is $150 an hour. His landscape architect project manager is at $125 an hour, and he said that hourly is not to exceed the fee of $3,000 for grant writing. So, payment schedule, a final invoice will be submitted upon completion of the funding application. He will go through with us and tell us what grants he's applying, that he's going to apply for, that is specifically for our area, and then the council would approve that before any funding is agreed to or spent. But this is his pricing, so I wanted to go ahead and get this locked down with you guys, and he has given us a price rate because we are a small city. So.
So in essence, we'd be hiring a professional contractor.
Yes.
Instead of,
We're
not
not.
necessary.
Yeah. Miranda's working on
Odds
her.
will go up significantly.
Miranda's working on her skills, and he did agree to work with Miranda, so, which is good. So she'll learn something from him as well.
Good.
Yeah,
And a
so,
lot of us don't know stuff that we may not hear about.
yeah, that's true. So can I get a motion to approve the route design park proposal? The funds, for the grant funds, and grant writing.
Make a motion.
Janice? Chrissy? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right, next up is going to be the tree ordinance revision. Again, this is just a discussion, looking at some work that Chrissy and I think Chrissy and John Alberg has been working on. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Councilwoman.
Me?
Yes.
Well, John and I met, we looked over the stuff that I found and that he found. So basically, we did John did a one-pager for you. And a lot of this we've already talked about, relative to our size with other cities, that we need to be more in line as opposed to being in line with somebody like Marietta or Alpharetta. We see the biggest issue is that our buffers are not, we have too much tree ordinance, not enough buffer. That's basically the deal,
Okay.
in short version. This is a little more detailed, but, so, and again, this is, for all of us to talk about what, we like to combine, we like to take out the big things that we don't need, that are not enforceable. We can't enforce what we have. It's not appropriate for our size, and we don't have, for example, fines that would discourage anyone from anything.
And I did like that. I know that right now it would have, in with a past issue, there would have been $100 fine rather than, it could be a progressive fine that for every
It
day
needs to,
that it moves forward, and that fine could start out at $100, and if they stopped, they stopped. If they didn't, then it would progressively increase. So that's what she's saying here. I do agree that our ordinance, this tree ordinance is huge for the size city that we have and the limited amount of development that we're going to incur. We don't know how it, we're landlocked as it is, but
right, we're
just,
only talking about
yeah,
the future.
yeah.
We're only talking about annexations, we're only talking about, we don't,
And the only people that could annex in the future would be Blue Ridge Marble. They have all the land to the north of us. So if they annexed in and we were able to make sure that we had, that we looked at this ordinance for development purposes, make sure that we have, if somebody comes in and wants to put a subdivision in there, do we have the ordinances in there that would make sure that we're covered?
it's the zoning and the buffers.
We do have conservation neighborhoods,
We doing that?
as far as the path. I think it was Adam.
So when we come back at this at our work session, take a look at, you guys take, I know that this is a lot to absorb, but take a look at that, what Chrissy and John put together here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of them, and then bring questions and let's look at it. We'll put it on for the June meeting for, to vote on our changes. So changes that you'd like to see in here that maybe they haven't thought about or, So right now, your recommendations are to provide a proposal relevant revision to the tree ordinance by the council meeting in June. The proposal should eliminate the 106.5 tree protection ordinance and update the 105.5 buffer ordinance, relevant ordinance from 106.5. Incorporate discussion and suggestion below. So, do you guys want to talk about John, you want to talk about the discussion and suggestion and guidelines for revisions?
It's primarily that, number one is we would like to know, can we continue eliminate the 106.5, integrate that in the 105.5, and come up with it, make it more succinct, look it over, and the discussion point, guidelines is primarily, we want your feedback. What are the other considerations we need to look into? That's all we're saying here. So we would like to know whether we can continue work on it and come up with a proposal with you.
I feel like it needs less verbiage, more teeth. Is basically what we came up with.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's just a lot that you can't enforce. And it's,
Well, the only, what you can enforce, but you really don't, you have such a minimal fineage that there's no,
right,
it's not gonna hurt anybody.
no.
William, you have any discussion topics? There's anything you want to add?
No, we need to dive into this.
But what I would like, if y'all could go through the 106.5 and highlight, underline, whatever it is that stands out to you that you do like, that you do want.
Yeah, there's a, and there,
Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about condensing it, but not losing the things that it's not about getting rid of the trees. It's about making sure that it works for as we discussed, for our mission statement, for what works for the city. And what we have now doesn't really work. Just because it's just too much. But there's definitely things in there that we wanna keep. So I'd like to know what's important to y'all in that. And it's a lot, what is it, 10 pages? 20 pages?
So that 106 is, and you said you made a copy for everybody and put it in
It's
here?
under here, it's in the, under 8. I need a red tab.
So it's the little tab, there you go.
If they carry through all the way down.
Okay. You guys. Okay. All right. So Nathan, you have anything? I want to go around the table, make sure. Is there any?
We just added the work session we were talking about.
Okay. So there's a copy in there and this one here to look through 106. John, you have anything? James? Will? Want any closing remarks? Okay. All right, then we'll move on. Next up is going to be the audit quotes. And that's going to be 8F.
The current article is an actual price, they just said, it's like a copy and paste of what you put in there.
So Wells Walker and Associates sent they sent an email, but then they sent this here, and pretty much their spin on things is that she tried to put it back on us, but we've had our stuff together since August in boxes for them. They never picked up.
Since July.
Well, July 1st, I'm sorry.
The current firm has got us.
Yes.
And I just wrote the check, for the one with the 23 on it, it was 17,500.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
I know that the CKH came out and Roger Nixon met with us at, I believe, our last work session. I like what they have. I've spoken with them at length. I reached out to 2 of the cities that, I just picked 2 that they had I've got those written down in my office, but I called both of them. They said they did a great job for them. So they gave them a 5-star. So rating, just said that they were in contact with them. They worked directly with them. It was a more, they said it was a very friendly atmosphere, and they were, instead of them just taking stuff and leaving with it and coming back saying, here's your audit, it was, they came in, so here's where we are, we're gonna ask questions, and then it was a joint effort, which was, I like that better. And we haven't had that from Walker and Welch, and I know that they're busy, and they're not that.
Excuse me, do they have experience from small towns?
Yeah, they have 38 small cities across.
CKH.
Right now, that's currently in contract with them, and they have a handful more coming, so they're very,
Is that one of the?
it's the one that came to talk with us, it's Roger.
We're 2 months away from that.
Yeah, and I mean, our findings are gonna be the same, but it's always good to bring another, I mean, when you've had an auditor for 5 years, it's always good to bring fresh eyes in. That way, you have somebody else auditing your stuff, and if there's any, anything we're not doing right, I wanna know. I don't want it to be.
So did we ever get the audit back?
Yeah, I just got it.
We just got it. And we have copies of it. We can go over at the work session, but we'll hand you guys one on your way out tonight, and then take a look at that. We didn't get it in time to add it to here, but take a look. It's the same findings that we had. It was the back and forth that happened where Miranda changed it, they changed it back, and then Miranda's like, hey, why did you do this? I've already fixed it. And it happened, it was with the SPOS dollars that,
It's from changing things.
yeah, and it was all had to do with when we changed the bank, so. And then, of course, the duties thing that's always gonna come up because we don't have enough employees to do everything that they can do in the city. It is.
It's like separation of duties, and then you have like full, 4, 5, 6 people.
And we're never gonna have that because we're a small city, and there's other cities that have the same finding every year. As long as you document, and just to you guys that are left, we are very open here, we're very transparent. You wanna see the checks we write, we keep them on our counter. please come in, please feel free to sit down at the table and review them. We're happy to show you. So we want you to know what's happening with your funds. And I would say 99.9% of everything that's spent is discussed out here. So,
I don't know if firms are really Pickens is using, but I think they're doing some really good stuff.
so we have the quote from that last one. They weren't really interested in coming out and having a conversation with us, but they did send us a quote. So,
He was our teacher in one of the classes.
yeah, they're a little more big time.
Yeah, it's a great company, but it is, I think they cater more to the large towns and large cities than small. I mean, they would do a good job. CKH, one of the guys that works for them has ties here, his family's here or something, so
Yeah, I liked that. He came in and had a really good conversation with
they've
us.
been in a few.
So, I mean, they want our business. So, I want to get everybody's thoughts on that. Mulch Walker was 17.5. CKH is, what is their total? It was 18,710. No, yeah.
It's for each year.
Oh, for each year. So,
So
okay,
it's
for
at 16, so it's actually about 1,500 less than what we're currently paying. 16,000, no, that would be if it was 23, so for 24, 16, yeah.
So it's a little bit of a cost savings, and it looks like they're going up around $500 over the next couple of years, $1,000 over the next 2 years. So 3 years, 1, 2, 3.
Would be an annual contract.
It would be. Whichever, all of ours are, I mean, even Mulch Walker will spend. That's my recommendation, but, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to make a choice.
How long have we had?
Mulch Walker?
20 years?
I had to be,
They've been here a long time, and they do a great job. But it's just a matter of, I think they're much more stuff too. They haven't.
they've taken a lot of new areas, and the city of Nelson is just small, and so we don't get the attention that.
We also had a phone extension this year.
And phone extension,
They came into it. And if phone extensions, if it's 2 years or 3 years, out of 5, and you're not eligible for state rate, you're under, like, we're penalties.
So we're just trying to get ahead of the curve. I don't think it would hurt to try somebody else out,
What's the deadline to have the audit done?
It was supposed to be done by December 31st. They didn't even get started till January.
The girl that has this particular account for us no longer lives in the state. Where does she live at now?
Maryland.
Maryland.
Her husband's deployed now, so she's staying with my parents. Yeah, she didn't know.
So, yeah, it's been a whole thing, so, and that's fine. I mean,
They
it's
have,
what it is.
because I've emailed minutes and bank statements and anything that we could transmit that way, but the actual coming in and getting the records and stuff wasn't until.
And they were ready in July, so. In lieu of that, is there, so out of the three, I'll go ahead and we'll open discussion and we'll start with William. You get his thoughts.
The CK&H, that's the gentleman that were here last week.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
They were fine with me. Their pricing was very competitive.
Yeah.
If they keep us on schedule and on time, then that's the biggie.
That is a single. Okay, you got one for CKH. James, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go with them.
Okay. Okay, so it's unanimous. Can I get a motion to approve the contract for CKH? And for 2024, the fees are $16,760
It's estimated.
estimated.
I can't read it exactly.
Okay, Chrissy, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, then. That was William.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, will you send an email out to them tomorrow then? Okay, next up is the MSA for Cherokee Animal Control Services Renewal. Cherokee County has done a pretty good job with our animal control they have us, I believe we've got, the second marshal in place now, and he's been in about a year or so. Have we had any issues? Pickens has the
This
second
is just a
one.
renewal of the current agreement, and so the county sent it out to all of the cities. I think Woodstock, Holly Springs, Ball Ground, Celestia.
Have we had any issues with it or not?
No, the only thing we run into is that it's James's next door neighbor, court case that, it was just ongoing issues with their pets, and they cited them, took them to court. The county won, they appealed it, just went back to court, county won again, but they said that there was a chance they could take it to, Superior Court or something, like it just keeps, and I have the wrong thing said, but whatever the next level they could appeal to. But they don't have the funds to do it.
But it hasn't just been beneficial, so.
And aren't you glad you're not paying by the hour for that?
Yes.
Exactly.
How much motion to renew it?
They're very responsive.
So we got a motion to renew, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so that was Nathan. William, all in favor? Unanimous, okay. Let me, go ahead and sign this.
You're gonna keep on with that by eliminating. Oh, yeah.
James B. Hay.
Well, there's a bunch of lead for it in there.
We'll go ahead and take this out. Next up is gonna be,
Ordinance revisions.
say what again?
Ordinance revisions.
Okay.
That's William.
Okay, hold on one second, let me get this out right here. Okay. Next up is gonna be 9, which is new business, and it's the HI zone ordinance revision by William and Taylor. William, go ahead.
Working off of Lamar's concerns brought up at the last meeting, and looking over it, the proposal would be to go through, and if I'm not mistaken, some of these uses we could make where they would require a special use permit, which would allow us greater control if something tried to go into the new HI, if I'm not mistaken.
What I would consider doing with HI, because we don't have that much, and we don't have, special needs for it, is to make it all conditional. So that any HI zoning, so somebody got an HI zoning for marble plant, it can only be for marble plant, because there was a conditional zoning, and it's only approved for that one use. They can't change the use without coming back every time. So that's probably what I would, the reason it is so comprehensive in its breadth and lists all these ridiculous uses is, the theory is, if a space missile company came to Nelson, you can't just tell them, we don't take you. We don't do space missiles. They have a right to apply for something. What they would apply for would be an HI zoning. That's why you mention all these things. Because every use has a theoretical right to apply and come. You don't have to accept it. It may not be appropriate, etc. But maybe it is that, we could eliminate some of them and deal with them if they came along, and some of them are just
But you have
offensive.
control of
But
it.
make them all conditional uses. Make them all basically apply for a conditional use or
I
special
didn't know if
use
we could
permit.
go that deep as to everything.
That'd be easy. That'd be an easy way to handle it. That we have the zoning, it's comprehensive for all these uses, but every time it would have to come back to you to change the use. Every application would be specific only to that use for their proposing, and it would stick only to that use.
Say if you had something that a small parcel popped up and they came in and wanted to annex in HI with a particular use, let's say a feedlot, they were sneaky, so you'd want some regulation over that, or
Sure. And you'd want to say, yeah, that's not appropriate there or something. So that's probably the easiest way to tweak it. Right now, I think we have these as permitted uses. I think we need to change them to conditional uses. And if you want to X any out, if you want to just eliminate any, know that business could come show up and apply still. Because what you normally say is all uses that aren't permitted are conditional anyway. But here we just say they're all conditional. And it'd be an easy,
Oh, so you can,
it'd be an
you
easy.
can take out the guided missile and.
If you want.
You could, but they still have the right to come and apply.
They could,
Right,
sure,
but it just doesn't specifically say in your,
I'd be happy to put in a guided missile plant as opposed to a feedlot.
right,
Sewer processing.
But the conditions really puts it back on the council, do you
Well,
approve
you
it?
don't have anything, can't just come in by right and say,
Exactly.
nope, I'm gonna follow every bit of your ordinance, have a nice day. And then at that point, you can't do anything anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you guys did a great job when we did the concrete fabrication. It was on the end where that quarry's at, it was a perfect fit for it. If somebody wanted to come in and put a feedlot there, and you have all those houses around there, I could see the council saying absolutely no, no. But, yeah, I mean, I do like the conditions for,
So if you want me to give you a proposed tweak to it, I'll do that.
could you do
Does
that?
that work?
That's fine with me. Let's just do it.
Yeah, go ahead, if you could send it, if you could send a proposal, can you do that by the 23rd, and then we could have it ready for the May meeting? Or would you rather me give you until the June meeting? I tell you what, let's do it for the June meeting. Yeah, I'll give you June, so, okay, we'll add that back to for the June meeting as the proposal for the heavy industrial.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Yeah, okay. So June, so we thank you for that, that's good. And I, like I said, I know from our zoning class too, that the council has the power to agree to grant or not grant based on what we have, and we're a residential community, so.
Well, like I said, the biggest thing is,
Yeah.
if you have somebody that comes in and there's an HI sitting there and they can fulfill everything by right, you don't have any control.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
All right, and I get a motion to adjourn to executive session, property and employees. Okay, thank you. Second,
Second.
Williams, all in favor? Yes, okay.